Hi everyone, my name is Andina Astenieto. I'm a counselor at SCARE and I've been here for a while, so I know some of you. And if I have not met you yet, welcome, and I hope to meet you someday in person. Thank you all for being here. It's really an honor to be part of doing this workshop. At SCARE, we know that going into the holidays, a lot of us are thinking about family, thinking about our roles in the family, thinking about our loved ones in the spirit world. And sometimes difficult feelings come up about that: stress, grief, frustration. Family can bring up a lot for us. And so we think it's important to do this workshop to talk about some of those feelings and some of the ways that people grieve and honor our loved ones that are in the spirit world. So I really am thankful to Kathy Wilcutz, Stephen Garcia, and Julie DeFilippis, our cultural educators at SCARE. I really respect the work they do, and it's an honor to be part of this. So thank you three for asking me to do this year. So my role is to talk about Dia de los Muertos, which is a holiday celebrated in a lot of places in Mexico and in some other parts of Latin America. And it's a holiday that we have around this year on November 1st and 2nd, sorry, around this time of the year, around November 1st and 2nd, where we honor our loved ones. And I'll be talking more about that. You see, I built my own altar here at home, and it was really a therapeutic and special experience to build it. So I'm grateful to be able to share it with you. And I'm going to jump into some information I put together. If you saw this presentation last year, some of it's the same, some of the information, so it'll be a refresher. And then I will probably include some different things than you heard last year. And I also made it shorter too. So welcome, and let's jump in. All right. So on the first part, I included some slides to represent my own cultural heritage. So on the bottom left, you see some graves in a cemetery with candles and lights on them. And that's actually a cemetery in Ireland on All Souls Day. And that's a tradition where people go and clean the graves and decorate them. And so you'll see that it has a lot of parallels with Dia de los Muertos. And I have Irish ancestry, so I wanted to include that there and honor that. And then on the right, you see a big old plate of Mexican food. My family is huge on delicious Mexican food, and my abuelo and abuela recipes that have been passed down. That's my grandma and grandpa. And they actually started their own Mexican restaurant in Austin, Texas in the early 50s during segregation, where it was legal, it was forced that restaurants were segregated. Black people ate at theirs, white people ate at theirs. Well, my abuelo and abuela started their Mexican restaurant and went against segregation and against that law and welcomed everybody to eat there. So I'm really proud of that. So I wanted to honor and acknowledge that with that slide. And actually that restaurant, they moved it up to Michigan and sold it to another family named the Canales when they retired, and it's still open today. So this is a screenshot from that restaurant's website. So yeah, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of my abuelo and abuela, and I wanted to share that with you. And then on the bottom right, you see some Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead skeletons, and they're playing music, and it looks like the woman might be dancing, enjoying the music. So my abuelo and abuela, they actually came together through music. That's how they met. My abuelo was in a trio, which is a form of a Mexican musical group. And then my abuela sang. And so they came together, they sang and played music my whole life until they transitioned to the spirit world. And I am so grateful that I've gotten to be immersed in that beautiful music my whole life when we would have family gatherings. So thank you, abuelo and abuela, for that. All right, so let's jump into Dia de los Muertos. So Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico developed from ancient traditions practiced by indigenous Mesoamericans long before the arrival of Europeans. They celebrated the deaths of ancestors with two feasts, Mikalhuitl, Feast of the Dead, and Way Mikalhuitl, Great Feast of the Dead. So I included this last year and I'm doing it again because I really love this point that Curly Tlapoyawa makes. He's a Chicano Nahua Masewali archaeologist, filmmaker, and founder of the Chimali Institute of Mesoamerican Arts, excuse me. So he talks about how many think that Mikalhuitl and Way Mikalhuitl were absorbed into All Hallow Tide, which is the umbrella term for All Saints Day and All Souls Day, under the direction of the Catholic Church, as these Christian holidays also involve honoring the dead. The writings of Diego Duran reveal that these Mesoamerican feasts were not moved under the direction of Catholic priests, but were hidden within the feasts of All Saints Day and All Souls Day by the indigenous people themselves. This subversive act of resistance was intended to fool the Catholic priests into thinking the Mesoamericans had indeed submitted to Christianity. I really love including this quote because to me, it's really powerful to think of how indigenous people back then connected to their own ancestors and spirituality through their Mikalhuitl and Way Mikalhuitl traditions, and they were able to empower themselves and each other by practicing those, although they did it undercover to avoid the colonizers harming them, because the colonizers wanted them to celebrate All Saints Day and All Souls Day. Now, you may know this, around the world, when one group comes to colonize another with a whole different religion and they try to convert that group, very often over time, you end up seeing the original spirituality or religion combined with the one of the colonizers. And so that's what we see with Dia de los Muertos. So November 1st is Dia de los Angelitos. And on this day, children are invited to make a children's altar to invite the Angelitos, the spirits of dead children, to come back and visit. November 2nd is Dia de los Muertos, when families go to the cemetery to decorate the graves and tombs of their dead relatives. So this one is more centered around adults. On that day, you can also build altars for your adult loved ones that are in the spirit world. In fact, you can build altars beforehand and enjoy them for, a week or two before or however long. And then on November 2nd is the day to really acknowledge and celebrate the altars for the adults. So Mexican marigolds, these are very important for Dia de los Muertos. Another name for them is Cempasúchil, and they were originally named Sempoaxochitl, which is a Nahuatl word for 20 flowers. They're also known in Spanish as Flor de Muerto, flower of the dead. It is believed the bright petals with a strong scent can guide the souls from cemeteries to their family homes to receive the offerings. So we put offerings on our Dia de los Muertos altars, and it's believed that these flowers help guide the spirits to come receive. By the way, you can also eat these, which is really interesting. I took a bite of one the other day and it's kind of bitter. So I think if you're the type of person that likes arugula, then you might like this. You can put the petals in salad. You can just bite a big old hunk off. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was not in love, but some people do really like it. All right, so altars, and in Spanish, they're called ofrendas. So people plan for Dia de los Muertos throughout the year. including gathering the goods to be offered to the dead. So throughout the year, we can think about our loved ones in the spirit world and think about their favorite foods, drinks, sweets, cigarettes, like alcohol, whatever they enjoyed, and sentimental and religious objects that meant something to our loved ones. And we can collect these things, and that way when we come to the time of year to build our altar, we put them here to honor our loved ones. All right, y'all. So now we're going to get into more specifics about the traditional Dia de los Muertos altars. So they often include photographs of the departed that are in the spirit world, candles, copal, which is a special incense made of tree sap, and it's often burned in ceremonies in indigenous communities in Mexico and in Central America. You can include water to quench the thirst of the dead after their long trip from the spirit realm, and a pinch of salt, which represents the continuance of life. As far as I know, most people do not consider there to be really strict protocols in terms of how you build your altar. And these are the things that are often included. And there's other ways you can get creative too. Very often you put your loved one's favorite foods on your altar. Like I mentioned before, sentimental items. So let me show you my altar. So I have here 3 tiers on my altar. Depending who you ask, you may get different answers about what the 3 tiers represent. So for somebody that's more connected to Catholic traditions, they might say that it represents the Holy Trinity, or they might say that it represents heaven, purgatory, and hell. Whereas for someone more connected to Aztec traditions, they may say it represents sky, earth, and the underworld. So on my top tier here, I have water, a candle holder, a skull decoration. I have 2 candles on the sides. I have a photo of my beautiful cousin Colin there on the second tier with some flor de muerto with my marigolds. I have my beautiful radiant spirit sister Raquel, photo of her there. And then I have a skull, some more marigolds, my beautiful dog Pasha, a drawing of him, and some fruit because my loved ones might be hungry after their long journey from the spirit world. All right, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So I wanted to include some examples of ways that people decorate their loved ones' graves. So here we have some beautiful photos from cemeteries in Pátzcuaro, Mexico. And then I show you there where that is in Mexico. It's west of Mexico City. And you see these people communing with their loved ones. That's the belief that when you go to the cemetery, you're spending time with your loved ones. And some people even hire musicians to come and play music for their loved ones. They bring food and have picnics and set out a plate for their loved one. So it's really a beautiful tradition. I love including this because in Guatemala, they have a really unique tradition in these towns called Santiago, Zacatepeques, and Zumpango, where people believe that if you fly these huge, colorful kites with designs on them, that actually attracts your loved ones from the spirit world so they can find you. So I think that's really neat. You see here, there's a kite with the Virgin Mary on it, the Virgen. So closer to home, there's a mercado, a market in Tijuana, And it's called Mercado Hidalgo, and they sell a lot of different items for celebrating Dia de los Muertos. They have altars there, so I hear that it's an amazing place to visit around this time of year. I haven't made it there yet, and I would love to. One place I have made it was to a cemetery in Tijuana for Day of the Dead, and it was an amazing experience just seeing people happy and present to be with each other and with their loved ones in the cemetery on this colorful decorated graves. So let's take a moment to think of our own loved ones. If you were going to create an altar for Dia de los Muertos, who would you honor? And what would you put on the altar? You can take a few deep breaths if you would like. I hope you envisioned a beautiful altar for your people. All right, so Dia de los Muertos, traditional foods, the most important part. Well, for some of us who love food. All right, so tamales. You may be familiar, especially if you live right here in San Diego, because we have so much Mexican culture here. So these are a traditional Mesoamerican dish made of corn-based masa, wrapped in corn husks or banana leaves. And you can fill it with whatever. You can put meat, cheese, vegetables, chiles, fruits, probably not all together. That might be interesting if you did that. Yet you can get creative and put different combinations. Pan de Muerto is a real important part. You can buy it at Northgate or Pancho Villa here in town, and you can buy it already made and have it for your celebration of Dia de los Muertos or to put on your altar. I'm hoping to make some myself someday. I haven't done that yet, but I really want to. Calaveras, these sugar skulls. So these are made of sugar along with the colorful frosting look that has the details on it. That's also made of sugar. So these display colorful designs to represent the individual personality of the departed. So you can even decorate these yourself to represent their personalities, which is really sweet. Traditional drinks. Pulque, or the favorite alcoholic beverages of the ancestors that are in the spirit realm. These are some of the options that you can put on there. Pulque is an alcohol. Atole and champurrado. These are warm, thick, non-alcoholic drinks made of corn masa, and champurrado has chocolate in it also. And these are great for this time of year when it's cold. Agua de Jamaica is a herbal tea made of the flowers and leaves of Jamaican hibiscus. And you may already know about this. They have it at taco shops and Mexican restaurants around here in San Diego. It's really good. I love it. Art is an important part of Dia de los Muertos. Jose Guadalupe Posada is a really important artist. And we have his famous print here, La Catrina, on the right. You may have seen that around. It's really famous and well known. And then you see some skeletons having a party together on the left, which is another print he made. Nichos and shadow box, well, otherwise known as shadow boxes. So these represent scenes where the people in the spirit world are enjoying some of the activities they enjoyed in life. And these can be silly. You see on the top left, Elvis has left the building and it's a nicho representing Elvis. They can be serious. You see down here on the bottom, there's two skeletons they're playing music and they have an altar in between them. You see two skeletons here spending time in the cemetery, which is interesting. And then on the bottom, you see a box honoring somebody's loved one that looks like they were a soldier at one point in their lives. So what are some parallels between Dia de los Muertos and traditions in your tribe? I know a significant amount of Native people around here in San Diego celebrate All Souls Day, which has some parallels, including cleaning the graves and decorating them. So you can think about that. What are some of the parallels? The movie Coco, beautiful children's movie. It represents and talks and explains the traditions of Dia de los Muertos and the perspectives. This is a great conversation starter for kids in terms of talking about death and grief and the spirit world and honoring our loved ones and showing one perspective on all of that. You see that I use the word Latine on this slide, and I want to explain that a little bit. So historically, a lot of people have used the terms Latino or Latina. I'm sure you've heard that word. And Spanish is a very gendered language, meaning that the words are either masculine or feminine a lot of times. So Latino is masculine, with the words with an O are masculine, with an A, it's feminine. And for people who have gender identities that do not fit into being a straight woman or a straight man or boy or girl, saying Latino or Latina doesn't feel inclusive and doesn't feel fitting for their gender identities. So people are trying to use more inclusive language. You may have heard Latinx. That's one example that becomes more inclusive because it's not masculine or feminine. And some people use Latine, which the argument about that is it flows better off the tongue than Latinx. And so, so Latine, that's what I'm using here to be inclusive. So it says, respecting the sacredness of Dia de los Muertos, many Latine people ask that people not dress up as Dia de los Muertos skeletons for Halloween. That feels disrespectful to the sacredness of the holiday. That non-Latine people not commodify Dia de los Muertos designs to make a profit. So if you see a sweater at Urban Outfitters with a Dia de los Muertos skull on it and somebody that's not Latine is making money off of that, that is a problem and it's disrespectful to the holiday. If you are going to visit Latina cemeteries for Dia de los Muertos, please make sure you choose one that welcomes visitors. I mentioned earlier, I went to one in Tijuana and they did welcome visitors, and it's important to check that because you know how it is. Like sometimes when people are practicing their cultural traditions, they don't really want guests. They're trying to do their thing. And so other times people are very proud and welcome guests. So you just want to check in and make sure it's okay. Oh, I didn't end up putting an event on here, but I put this to remind myself. Here in San Diego, we have some events for Dia de los Muertos that you are welcome to go to if you're a guest. At Sherman Heights Community Center, they invite people to build these amazing detailed altars in the community center, and you can go visit there right now at this time of year and on Dia de los Muertos. I highly recommend it. It's just such a, you can just, I don't know, for me, you can feel the peace and the spiritual power in the space. And then you can also walk around in Sherman Heights, and a lot of people go with the community tradition of building altars on their yard or on their patio. And then you can walk around in the neighborhood and see people honoring their loved ones in their front yards. It's awesome. And so I encourage that. Also on Dia de los Muertos, there's a procession from Sherman Heights Community Center to Chicano Park. This is a tradition that's been done every year. And I also encourage you to Google just Dia de los Muertos events around town. There's one in Old Town. Like I said, you can go to Tijuana. There's a lot going on there. So there's a lot to offer. We're very lucky that we live in this border region with so many different cultures that we can explore. And if you have more questions about Dia de los Muertos, you're welcome to email me at andina@scareinc.org, ANDINA@scareinc.org. And I'm going to just go ahead and close out my part by thanking you so much for being here. And I hope that this sparked your interest in Dia de los Muertos. And I'm going to turn it over to my amazing colleagues, Kathy, Stephen, and Julie, who will be talking more about grief. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thank you. That flute song is for everybody out there. It's today what we're doing is a grieving ceremony, as you would. And this is the way we let out our feelings for those that have passed, you know, for those that we miss, for everybody, for our friends that are grieving. And grieving comes in different ways, you know, about family, animals, friends, everything. And just want to introduce myself. I am one of the Ishta, the Black Star Eagle. And my name in Tongva, I've been learning it, hopefully I get it right. Yopicha. So, the Chon Ashwa. It's the same meaning, the Black Star Eagle. The eagle is black, the eye is a star. That's Tongva. I'm also Mescalero Apache and Yaqui. And I just want to thank everybody for taking their time to view this. And thank you, ladies, for including me in this. Hope your heart feels better.
Thank you, that was really pretty.
Thank you.
My name is Julie DeFilippi, and I work here at SCARE. This is the first of 4 trainings for the Harvest trainings that are going to be throughout November. This is the Grief and Healing training today, and I'm part Aleut, Alaska from my mom's side, and Italian on my dad's side. And I'm glad that you're here with us today as well. And this is...
Hi, I am Kathy Wilcutz. I am Lakota. I was born on the Cheyenne River Reservation in South Dakota. My father is from the Rosebud tribe. I am the cultural educator here at SCARE for the TUPE program. It's Tobacco Use Prevention Education, and we teach about the sacred plant medicines, the cedar, sage, tobacco, and sweetgrass. Today's class is about healing, grieving and healing, and we are going to have a conversation. We're going to have a meditation. We're going to have a ceremony, and just really be present with our feelings, with our emotions, touching with our body, mind, and spirit, and think about our ancestors, the ones that we love that have passed on, and also to embrace our emotions, all our emotions, even our sadness and our grief. They're here to help us as well, to remember those and to keep those people sacred in our lives. So we are going to first start off with our cultural teachings on grief. And I would like to share with you all my tribe. So I am Lakota, and the way that we think when someone passes away, what we do is we have a ceremony for them. We will have a star quilt made for them for their coffin when they pass away, and we have a giveaway. We start gathering things right after we find out of a death in our family. We start gathering gifts, preparing offerings to give to the community in honor of the person that passed away. And after the funeral and the ceremony, we also will have a big feast for that person and a giveaway right after the funeral and the eating together. And then a year later, we will also do the same thing. We'll gather star quilts that we give to the pallbearers, to the person who is overseeing the ceremony, to people who were important in the community. We also would give them a star quilt. And these were all handmade gifts for these people. And the star quilt is very symbolic to my tribe. What we think about is we think about our connection with the universe, with Creator, and with the stars. We call ourselves the Star Nation, the people from the stars. So that's why the star is very symbolic to us. And not only do we have it for deaths, we also have it for important ceremonies. So like a birth of a baby, a wedding, a graduation, honoring somebody in your family or your community, we will also give them a star quote. So that's a little bit about how we do our ceremonies, and I'd like for Stephen and for Julie to share as well.
Want me to go next?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm urban native, and I was never on a res or reservation or anything like that. And I've been learning a lot about my tribe the last, I'd say, 6 years. So things are new to me. I'm part Aleut, and my mom was born in Alaska. And she was given up for adoption, so she didn't know a lot about her past and how they did things at all. I'm learning a lot on the computer, and I try to ask questions to people that I would think that are from Alaska, and there's very few out there that I know. When people pass in our families, they have the burial and the ceremony. I don't know. We don't really do much as far as like a ceremonies. I did do research, and there's some research about the Aleuts or the Anangan tribe, and that's the name of my tribe. And they did do shallow burials throughout. Some were buried close to by their homes, and I've read that some that were of hierarchy. I don't know if they were like more important in their tribes. They did burials in the caves, and I just read about that, which is really interesting. And they do place things of value into their the graves with them, and some with beads and other important things that maybe that they had in their lives that they buried with them. And so I do know that. And then I did also find that some of them did they put the body, they make like a kayak, and I don't know the proper word I know there's another word for it, start with a B, and I can't think of it right now, but it's a little boat, and they put the body on that and cover it in blankets and special things, and then they light them on fire and then push it out into the water. So I read that too, and so I don't really know, because the Aleuts, it was so long ago, and a lot of our history got wiped out. So I'm really trying to learn a lot so I can teach my kids about things like that. And then they held ceremonies in the wintertime, and there was a lot of festivities and food, and they did dancing, and they just talked about the loved ones and their ancestors, and they shared lots of stories, and so I do know that much about my tribe so far. So it's pretty interesting.
That was a lot to share, so thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I learned a lot.
Awesome, you have been studying.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they sound like beautiful ceremonies too.
Definitely.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
interesting, the caves, and then, some by the houses, and it's really the importance of it, and it's really interesting.
that is awesome. Thank you, Google. Hey. Google knows a lot of stuff.
Sometimes.
Yeah, as far as California side, I know that we have the ceremonies, and they dress them up, and usually a funeral fire. They would sometimes cremate the bodies, sometimes cave burials, depending on how they would go about doing that. I'm pretty sure our coastal people had similar, like maybe make a boat and send them out. And but I do know that instead of, with some of their belongings, they would make sure that they had certain things with them, but they would break them. They'd like put a hole in a vessel, or break their things that they buried them with, if they buried them, or even they turned them that way. But a lot of the times, what they would do was take all their belongings, and I always thought it was interesting, and they would throw them in one big pit and burn all their belongings. They would burn their clothing, they would break all their material items. That's why there's so many artifacts that they say there are many California artifacts. Well, it's mostly made out of biodegradable materials. So how are you going to find materials that weather and age in time and go back into the earth, and this is the way it's supposed to be. Because if you go by a cemetery, it is crowded, and that's a lot of land, and it's just packed. But everybody has their ways. Yeah, so they would burn all their possessions, and the reason being, so family members wouldn't fight over who was getting what. And so that's why with most natives, what we do is, in our time, if we have something and we know somebody really likes it, we give it to them. Because there's nothing better than seeing somebody's face or seeing their reaction when you give them a prized possession that you really like. And that's why I always tell natives, be careful when you say, oh, I really like that necklace, or I like that. It's like, I'm not trying to get it. I always tell them that first. But yeah, with our people, we would, you know, we would do the ceremonies for the whole day. You know, people would stay with the body the night before, you know, the whole week. I mean, with most tribes, you have people that stay there, either family members or sentries, as you would, to guard the body and help them on their way until the morning light. And then they would go on with the ceremonies and then the feast afterwards. Always a feast, you know, natives, we always have to have the food going, so that's a big part of it. And then a year later, you know, you would memorialize the person, and after that, you know, like with the Lakota people, you know, my Hukapi, my adopted people, the Oglalas, I know that, you know, after a year, as Kat was saying, you know, they do the giveaway, which is a beautiful ceremony. And as well as with your people, I know up north, they would have their potlatches where people would give away all their possessions, and people would be surprised about it, but the tribe would come back in and know exactly what they needed. And so everybody would come back to that person with it throughout the days and give them what they needed. So that's the way the circle kept each other going. And yeah, it takes a village, you know. And so, as well as with the Day of the Dead, that's old ceremony with you know, remembering your past people. With our people, we really didn't say the person's name after they passed away. You know, you would say your uncle or your father or your mother, or say, but you wouldn't say the person's name. Nowadays, people, you know, it's times change, and I tell people we're not stuck in the past. We actually move in time. Like a lot of ceremonies, you wouldn't take pictures of, and you wouldn't take film of. But nowadays, how are the children going to know if we don't record it? How would you know anything about, you know?
Exactly.
It's like now we have programs where you can Google how to make certain things. So there is we're sitting here doing this on film, so times move, but the more things change, the more things stay the same, and we're coming back to our ways. And people say we forget our ceremonies, but I said, no, how were those ceremonies brought about? Go on a hill and think about it, and the spirits will tell you how to put together your altar or how to put together your ceremony. And so we all have that ability. Thank you.
Speaking of the altars, I would like to also point out that the one on the ground is indigenous, tribal altar. We all use different sacred plant medicines from our regions, crystals, or the food that we eat. We would place them on our altars as offerings. We have our sacred plant medicines, we have crystals, we have rocks to represent Mother Earth. We have a jar of beans just to honor the indigenous foods that we also have. And we also incorporated the marigolds at this time as an offering to place on the offering here, which is more from South America, and for the Day of the Dead ceremonies. And in both ways, we're honoring our ancestors. So these statues also represent our ancestors. And I would like to also mention, what I forgot is, we also put out a spirit plate. So when we eat, we'll take a little bit of food and place it on a little plate and place it outside for the spirits. Yeah. And we're feeding our ancestors. So that's what that spirit plate is for. Also, we we always think about our ancestors, you know, and we're always praying that they are there with us, that they support us in our life, because they have that spiritual connection on the other side. And I really do feel that, you know, they can move mountains on the other side, and they could help us with our life, and they can clear our path so that we can continue to walk on the red road and walk in a sacred way, and keep that circle, you know, going, that cycle going. So from birth to death and beyond, you know, we just honor all aspects of life through that. So just wanted to touch on that. And now we're gonna move on into honoring specific people in our life, and we're all gonna share some grief we may have over some loved ones. And I also would like to point out, you know, thinking about what's going on right now with the boarding schools and how they're finding the mass graves of the children. You know, we may not think that that affects us, but it really does, you know, because we're all indigenous, we're all tribal, and it does affect us in one way or another. We may not recognize it, it could be subconscious, but we really need to look at that and think about what our ancestors went through, what our, you know, great-grandparents, grandparents, parents have gone through. Maybe even you have gone through it. Boarding schools existed, and I believe some may still even be running. So, you know, we have to think about that grief as well, that we are all grieving what's happening right now in Canada. And, you know, it will be here in America too. There will be investigations at the churches of these boarding schools. So something to think about. And also what's happening with the missing and murdered Indigenous women, children, and men and boys.
Good.
So we have a lot of grief, you know, as a tribe, as a community, you know, and it affects all of us. So we have to support one another. We have to think of ways to release that grief in a healthy way, and just think of ways to help us and help our children grow and to move forward in a healthy space. I would like, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
They all wanna go.
So I know around this time of the year, I think about all my relatives, my ancestors throughout the whole year. You know, it could be the time or day when I just I see something that reminds me of somebody, and then it all just starts coming back to you. But I think, you know, memories, you know, I know a lot of people don't like to think about, you know, because it brings up that sadness, but memories are really good. I mean, they're really good because, you know, that person's going to be with you forever, and it's like they had an impact in your life in one way or another. And it's awesome. It's a really good feeling. I mean, I'm learning to accept it more and more. It takes time. It's taken time for me to get here to where I'm at with, you know, memories and stuff like that. And I miss the heck out of my grandma and my aunt and my Uncle Mario. And my cousin Mariana, who recently, it's been a year now, and I miss them all. And I think about all the good stuff, and I always tell my kids about, my Uncle Mario used to play the accordion, and we used to have these big family things on Sunday, and my Aunt Barbara, she'd be in the kitchen with Grandma, and they'd be cooking these big pasta meals. And so I just think about all the fun stuff, and I used to help out in the kitchen when I was young. I used to eat more than I helped, but I was like, I love my food. And they used to make these homemade pastas and leave them on the bed to dry, and I used to sneak in and get them and eat them, and my grandma would just she'd yell at me. It was so funny. And my dad would keep a lookout, my dad would keep a lookout, okay, go ahead, you can go, Juju, you can go. He'd say, it's okay, go, she's not here. So I just remember these things and I tell my kids this, and they probably heard it a million times, but it just keeps that going. It just keeps them in my memories. We'll never forget about them, and it's okay to think about it. And even the sad times. I was always used to crying. I think I cried last year when we were doing this, and I do cry at times, and it's okay to do that. It really is. But this is for my Mariana, my cousin, and my grandma, and my aunt, and my uncle, and oh, I love and miss them so much. I miss them so much.
Do you want me to go next? Okay. Sorry. It's been a year and 5 months since Moonbeam, my sister Alita. She was the Moonbeam. Dad named her, right? It was COVID that got her, but it was things that led up to that too. She was just the cards she'd drawn in life. Yeah. I heard from my mom too, because you're not supposed to outlive your kids. She's up there with dad and grandmas and grandpas and uncles. I have one uncle right now who just got COVID. And God, I never prayed so much for somebody. He's my last uncle, my dad's side. Yeah, it's like when you start to think of one person, the Rolodex, just family members and friends, and after you run out of people, you think of your animals. But they walk beside you, I've seen people and I'm like, wow, you got a lot of pets walk beside you, and they're like, what? I'm like, oh. And as Julie said, they're always there. They're always there. All you have to do is think about them. It brings a smile to your face. And you remember the good times. You remember the happy times, the funny times. And, it's Alita Bug, Moonbeam. She had so many nicknames from so many people because she was the funnest, man. She's a tough girl, too. And she's only 1 year older than me. And yeah, I'm coming up on 61. She'd be coming up on 62. And being the youngest, I always, that's in the back of your mind, you try not to think about it. Like, wow, I'll be the last man standing. But you never know. Creator could say, nope, tomorrow you're out, boom, car accident, Just heard about a friend. Wrong way driver. Took him and his daughter out. He's still alive, but his daughter's gone, and he doesn't even know it yet until he wakes up. And so, it's that fast. And now you're on the table, It's like you're in somebody's memory. And that spirit's not wasted, it's always around, that's what keeps this earth spinning. All those spirits, millions and millions of spirits. And you see me dressed in orange today. You see me wearing these colors. And like these flowers representing the grief, the people. It's ironic that the marigolds are orange. Because when you think about it, thousands of children, its only crime was being native. Only crime was being born on the land that you came from. And we just want people to see that, to wake up. I saw a post that said, tried to bury us, but didn't realize we were the seeds. And so now these seeds are growing and waking up the country and the society. And you talk about grieving, you're talking about more than 7,000 children found already. As Kat was talking about the boarding schools and such. Children are so innocent, you know. I have a hard time with, but I'm going to say it, the churches and such, because of what they've done to our people. You know, there's no sacred sites that haven't been wiped out and then a big steeple put on top of it. There's no reservation that didn't have 3 different denominations, 4 different denominations fighting over our souls. We already had our ways. We have our ways. Our ways are still here. We're still here. We're here for those children. We're here for those spirits. Maybe we carry those spirits. Maybe we are those children, and that's why we're here doing this. Because of that circle, that cycle. We walk that red road. There's no coincidence that they found this red tablecloth to put down under these things. The natural altar is still here. And I miss so many of my friends that fell victims to alcohol, drugs, mental issues. You know, people don't see that, you know. I mean, you see the happiest guy, Robin Williams, and what happens, you know? He's just wearing that mask. And so I tell people, don't wear a mask around me. I want to know how you feel, you know. I want to know if you need help, whatever I can do, you know. And I tell people with anxiety and such about that. Anxiety is one of those things that you're stressed about something that hasn't even happened. You're scared about something's going to happen, but you've survived how many times those anxiety attacks of, oh, something's going to happen, but it never does. And I tell the younger ones, that's your energy. That's your energy. You're growing, and that's your energy coming in so fast that you don't know how to deal with it. You know, it's just like, wow, all of a sudden you get rushed. And it's like, what is this? And sometimes it'll scare you, but it's your energy. You're growing. And it does. It feels like a boom, a burst, like lightning. And yeah, I hurt for a lot of other people because I see them grieving. And I wish I could give them the tools on how to deal with grief. And I tell people, I said that was their body. And we're sad for ourselves, but that was just their body, their spirits like floating around, their spirits in everything you see, their spirits in that flower, look at that. And when that flower dies, another one's gonna come up too. Those rocks, those beautiful rocks, how many of us walk around, oh, pretty rock. Probably got more earth in my drawer and boxes at home than on the ground. But one day I'll return to that ground. And you know, people will grieve, but I don't want them to grieve long. That's why we say wiping of the tears after a year. And, grief can be beautiful. You know, when you go to the burning of the clothes ceremonies and you hear all those bird singers just all night long, that's beautiful. Those are ancient songs being revived, being passed on. I remember when I was younger and 1 or 2 bird singers. And out of respect, I'm not going to say their names because they're not here anymore, but they passed those on. And now you go and you see each band with groups. You know, I see young boys that I knew that were young boys that now have full-on families and groups. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I know when I pass, I'll be content knowing that we're still here. We're still here. We're not going anywhere fast. We'll still be here when the earth decides, okay, enough. And we're one of those stars that you look out there and you see. Grandpa said, those stars are burnt out. They're no longer going. I said, how is it that we see them then? Are we burnt out? Are we still here? Possibly. But this flower's here. It smells good. I love the smell of marigolds are kind of like strong, really. But as long as I'm still alive, I'm here for you. I'm not going to cry too much because I'm going to be here strong for the people. When I go see my friends in the hospitals, I don't cry for them. I say, I'm standing here for you. I'll be your strength. I'm sending you some of my energy. Whenever I play this, it's to send people energy. Whenever I burn sage or smoke like that, it's not to cry, it's to be strong. So I'm here to be strong for the people. You guys can cry, I'll be here standing guard. And cry a little bit for myself. Because we're the ones who hurt. We're the ones that are left with that grief, that pain. And I always turn that around. Yesterday I was carving on a piece of artwork for somebody, and I was thinking of my sister. And she was, I could hear her say, ooh. Just the way she said, ooh, that's beautiful. She says, oh, that's so pretty. I gave her the first turtle I ever carved. She was like, oh my God, that's gorgeous. One of these days I'm gonna have to get a piece from you. I'm like, here. I said, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, New Year, all that stuff, because we hardly see each other when she moved away. And we are from Turtle Island. And Turtle Island's where we're going back to. And so I'll see you in the stars. Love everybody. Oh. Hey, Travis.
So I picked this big marigold
It's
because
huge.
I have so many people that I'm thinking about, and they can represent all of them. You know, I've talked about it before that my mother and father were in boarding school, and many aunts and uncles. And, you know, growing up with a mom and dad who were in boarding school, you kind of see their life, you know, how they lived after boarding school. And hearing the stories later, even from my aunt who also was in boarding school, she shared with me that, you know, her and my dad went to the same boarding school, but they separated them. Like, they didn't ever get to see each other. So they were in one boarding school for 3 years. And she said that whole time I never got to see my brother. And they kept them apart on purpose. And if you think about it, all across, you know, the country and in Canada, that was the agenda, to break up families. And, you know, a lot of times, even in the current times, we would have lateral oppression within families, within communities, and within tribes. And we really need to heal that. We really need to release that so that our families can come back together, so our communities can come back together, for our tribes to come back together. Like, we really need to support one another, and each person's success is everybody's success. And I hope that we all can celebrate each other, instead of, you know, gossip or, you know, just treating other people bad. Like, think of everybody as your family everywhere you go. And that's traditional. Like, in any tribe, you know, the older people in your life are your aunties and uncles, or your auntie, your grandma, or your grandpa, or sisters, brothers. Like, we use those sayings, and it's for a reason. It's to keep us close, to keep us thinking of each other as family. So back to my mom and dad, thinking about, you know, their lives, and through the boarding school they were then in the Relocation Act. So the Relocation Act, they were sent to big cities to assimilate them with other people, to pretty much, you know, break up tribes again. So from boarding school to the Assimilation Act, they both met each other in Los Angeles, and that's where they met, and they fell in love. And, because of their love, I was born, my brother was born, my sister was born, and I loved that story because, the government tried to separate our tribe, but both my mom and dad, being Lakota, found each other in a big city, 1,400 miles away. So I'm so proud of that, and I'm so happy that they had that, and that they had each other. They both went to different boarding schools, but they both had the same trauma. They had the same experiences. So I really feel that they helped each other heal, and thinking about, the good times that we had, as a child, just thinking about them makes me emotional because I miss them so much. I haven't had my mom and dad in my life, since I was 20, 25, 26. So it's been about 25 years now of not having that parental support for my children, not having grandparents. And, that angers me. And I have anger towards the government. I have anger towards churches for what they did to them. And also for myself, having to deal with the abuse from the church for, telling us that we, were less than, or that we were, if we ever thought of our culture or thought of doing ceremonies, they would put an evil bent on it, telling us that we're devil worshippers or doing witchcraft, these were actual words that the ministers would tell us as children, and that we would burn in hell, and all of that were scare tactics and brainwashing, and to keep us in fear. And they really did a number on all of us as tribal people. And the thing about it was, as a child, I remember going into the Black Hills and sitting on a horse. And I'm like, oh, this is how spirituality feels. Like, this is how it feels. Like, I never felt anything sitting in a church. It felt empty. It felt lifeless. Like, someone telling you negative things about yourself. Like, how can you grow? How can you nourish yourself? Or how can you nourish your spirit if someone's telling you negative things? So that was my connection. As a young girl, I got, that spiritual fulfillment in nature with a horse, on our sacred lands. So I'll tell you that being in your sacred lands is so important, like it's so meaningful, and it really just filled me up. And it filled me up so much that I never let that go. Like, any chance I can get into nature, I'm in nature. Any chance I could be around horses, I was around horses, because that was part of our lineage. We did a lot on horses. We traveled, we camped, we found different sites with horses, we hunted with horses, the buffalo. Horses were important, and in my family we had several horses as well. So nature's healing, animals are healing. Living here in San Diego for 21 years now, I'm still separated from my family. I'm separated from my tribe, and I miss them very much. And I think about it all the time. Like, I wonder if I'll ever be able to reconnect with my tribe. I know a lot of us think about that, especially urban natives. I know that we all miss that connection, and I know that we miss, that whole lifetime of that absence, and that's what it feels like. It feels like an absence. So, you know, we carry a lot. We really do. We carry a lot of sorrow and grief and sadness. And I know I do, you know, especially with the loss of my parents. You know, I know, like, as a mother of 2 daughters, like, I want to cheer them on their whole life, give them that support and that unconditional love that they need. And I think, like, wow, I've had that missing for 25 years now. And it does, it really affects you. I didn't think I would be so emotional today.
Yeah.
But I need to let it go, you know, and I just need to let that go. And it feels good to talk about it, you know, even though it's sad, and it just feels good to talk about it and let it out.
Yeah.
So I want to honor my mother, my father, my grandmother, my auntie, my uncle who passed away. Like, they were my family. Like, as a child, they were always around me. They were my support. They were the ones that celebrated every little thing that, you know, we accomplished. And when you lose that, you really feel like you're alone in the world. So that's who I'm gonna honor today, are those people.
Cool. Yeah, I always thought it was ironic that when your mom passed away, she was 55 and you were 25. Because the same thing with me and my dad. He was 55 and I was 25. You know, I'm coming up on 61 and I'm like, wow, am I really that many years older than my father? And then I think about it and I'm like, well, his dad passed away at like 48 or something like that, so.
Yeah.
Guess I broke that young chain, huh? But my elders would tell me, you're just a kid. And I'm like, yeah, 61-year-old kid coming up in November. So try and stay that way, because, yeah, it goes quick. And,
You know, today is a very heavy class.
full moon too, so.
And I really believe it's just an accumulation of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
We really need this big release, and
Everybody-
I'm thankful that we have this.
Yeah,
I am too.
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah. So we're going to continue. We're going to do a meditation now. This circle that we have here, we wanted to share with you to think about having a circle like this with your family. You know, you may have grandparents or aunties or uncles or even children who have sadness, grief, sorrow, that they need to let out. So having a sacred space, having a place where you all can share your feelings is very healthy. I remember when we had children here, I didn't think they would share. I thought they would be pretty quiet, but they did. They shared their losses, and they really opened up about it. So I hope that you consider having a circle at home to honor your ancestors and those that have passed away. And now we'll go ahead and go into a meditation. Okay, welcome back to our second part with our meditation. We are going to do a guided meditation, and I would like for you to go ahead and sit back with your back straight, with your feet flat on the floor, with your hands open in your lap. When we open our hands, it's a message to receive. So we're receiving healing, we're receiving inspiration, we're receiving guidance, wisdom, love, whatever it is that Creator wants to give to us, is why we keep our eyes closed and our hands open. So first, I would like you to take 4 cleansing breaths. So in through your nose and out of your mouth. And you're welcome to follow us along if you're at home. Continue to take breaths as we are doing this meditation, deep breaths, as many as you need to feel the oxygen in your lungs. And I would like you to go ahead and visualize a beautiful white waterfall of light above your head. Visualize it cleansing and clearing every cell in your body. It's like an inner shower with the white waterfall of light coming through, and visualize every cell in your body getting washed, cleansed, cleared, purified, just taking away all that is no longer needed energetically, anything that is not for our highest and best good. You can visualize it as black smoke leaving your body and just seeing everything clean, shiny, and new in every cell. Visualize that white waterfall of light coming from your head into your shoulders, into your arms, your hands, your fingers, leaving your fingertips and continuing down your torso into your hips, your legs, your feet, your toes, and coming out, cleansing and clearing your entire body, your bones, your muscles, your tissues, your nervous system, your blood, every organ in your body. Just visualize everything being cleansed and cleared with beautiful white light. Now visualize roots from the bottom of your feet going deep into Mother Earth, going deep into Grandmother Earth, connecting you with Mother Earth's energy, Mother Earth's love, flowing back up through those roots into your body, reaching your heart, reaching your mind, reaching your spirit. And visualize the sun rays also shining down upon you, going into your body, into every cell, meeting Mother Earth in your heart center, creating a beautiful star bursting out from your heart space. Now feel that connection to Mother Earth and Father Sky. Feel that connection with this beautiful white waterfall of light. And now that you're all cleansed and cleared, I want you to see this beautiful pink cloud around you that represents unconditional love, just filling your body. Your body's absorbing this pink cloud through every pore, just absorbing into every organ, your bones, your tissues, everything inside of you. Now I'd like you to visualize a journey that we will be going on. Visualize the full moon above, since we do have a full moon, we're gonna go ahead and touch on that energy. So see a night sky and feel the cold breeze on your skin. Feel the wind and feel how good it feels touching your skin. See yourself getting up from wherever you are and walking into the desert, and all you see are big stones, and the moonlight is shining on all of these big boulders, big stones. And I want you to go ahead and sit on these boulders. Find one that's comfortable. And you may even find some bowls that maybe some ancestors created long ago. And you see these bowls that were used for harvesting acorns, for preparing food. And I want you to go ahead and put your hand in that bowl and feel the smoothness of it. And just imagine long ago these ancestors that were in this area living, working, playing, just enjoying life. And maybe you even see acorns in these bowls. And you can feel those acorns. You can hear them hitting one another, hearing the sound of those acorns. I want you to go ahead and sit down or lay down and just really take in the night sky. Look at all the stars up in the universe. You can see the moon shining bright. And as you're laying there or sitting there, you set the intention to absorb that full moon energy onto you and into you and working with you. Just like the sunshine and the rays make you happy, the full moon could also do the same. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, just let it shower you or bathe you in that moonlight, and feel how peaceful, how nourishing, how loving that full moon energy feels. And feel how protected you feel in this scene at night on this rock, feeling the stability of the stone under you, feeling the groundedness this stone offers you. And just feeling that strength absorbing into your body as well. Just take it all in. And I'm going to be quiet for a couple minutes because I really want you to feel the peace in this moment. So just continue to gaze at the full moon and all the stars. take another deep breath. And we just want to thank Creator's creations. We want to thank the space around us. We want to thank the full moon, grandmother moon. We want to thank Mother Earth, the stone underneath us. We just want to thank this space for allowing us to heal, allowing us to meditate, allowing us to feel silence and peace and nourishment and anything else you felt in this moment. So I want you to go ahead and come back, leaving this space in the desert, leaving this beautiful stone, knowing that you can come back to it at any time. You can come back to it in your mind. It'll always be there. Come back with your feelings. Come back with your spirit. And coming back into this room, back into your chair. I want you to go ahead and start moving your fingers, your toes. You can stretch. And I want you to slowly open your eyes when you're ready. Julie, would you like to share?
Just a lot of peace. A lot of peace in this one. Really heavy. I feel really heavy. But it's a good feeling. Nothing negative or bad in it. It's just really I don't know what to say. I feel good. I didn't see anything in this one this time. Nothing came to me. But I felt really just at ease and calm. It was the peace I needed. It's really good.
Nice. What about for you, Stephen?
Yeah, that was really cool. Like what she said, just feeling really calm when you directed us towards the desert, and then you said the boulders. I was like, whoa, full moon. I could see the glow off of all these rocks and the little glistening mica in the rocks. And I found a boulder that was just really, it was actually perfectly shaped. I was able to just hop right up on it. And I just sat there and kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and I saw the fire, and I was like, well, where's that fire coming from? And then I went, oh, it's the candle. And so I went back to the rock, and I was just sitting there in the coolness, and I was just like, wow, I was tripping out on the stars and everything, and the color of blues, the different shades of blues going all the way over to midnight blue, way over there, but the lightness, how it just traveled across the desert floor from where the boulders were. Where I was, it was all boulders, and then it went out across the desert floor. And I was like, wow, there's not too many bushes or trees, but I can see all the little shadows of the rocks. And I was like, are all these rocks sitting here just looking at me? And I was looking at all these rocks, and I was like, hi guys. And so I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I said, I wonder how long these rocks have been here, and feeling the coolness. And then when you said to come back, when you said you were going to be quiet for a moment and to just feel the stillness. And I saw a shooting star, but I heard the car go by, and I was like, oh, that shooting star sounded like a car. And it was like, whoa. I started laughing. And then I go, oh, somebody's behind me talking, but it was here. So. But then I came back to that rock again, and when you said, okay, it's time to leave, I was going to get up and walk away, and I'm like, nope, just going to slide off of this thing. And I could actually feel the texture of that grainy rock, and I'm looking at the sparkles, and I went, thanks, rock. And I'm all, and started walking back, and then I'm like, wait, where's Scare at? And he was like, come back. And I was like, next thing I know, I'm looking at the candle, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, wow, I was really out there in the desert looking for the place. Thank you. Yeah, that after doing the grieving, that as you were saying, you know, let it go through every blood cell and bones, and I was like, whoa, I could just feel that waterfall taking everything away. And then when you pulled us into that meditation, I was like, perfect. So thank you very much. Man, that just like the heaviness of the day is gone. And get me ready to go finish that carving of that dolphin. So thank you, appreciate it very much. Oh, one note, even when I meditate by myself, I hear your voice because it's such a calming, cool voice. You used to hear my voice, and now, like the other day, I went to just sit in my backyard and started meditating, and I could hear a cat going, okay, now imagine the leaves, and I'm like, wow, I'm hearing Cat's voice. This is a trip. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
For myself, I really felt the peace as well. And I just felt so nourished by the earth, you know, by everything, not just one thing, but everything, you know, just from the air, and not even the air, the space, you know, like we think about there's nothing there, but there is, you know, I really feel like it's just life, you know, static life, or I don't know how you want to picture it, but I just felt nourished by empty space, and I felt nourished by the stone. I felt the, you know, the bowl that was already made by the ancestors. I was just putting my hand in there, just feeling it, and it felt so good, you know, like it was healing for me to do that. And I can picture those ancestors from a long time ago laughing and just enjoying being out there in nature, and you know, preparing food, and then visualizing the moonlight, you know, bathing us as well was very healing. And, you know, just the environment was very healing. So I needed that as well. So that concludes our class on grief and healing. And I hope that you were able to take something away from this class, and just continue to enjoy your life, enjoy this season, honor your ancestors. And you know, grief, one thing about grief is it's not just something that we can get over. You know, even in my tribe, they say we have 1 year to grieve, but it could be a lifetime. You know, like for myself, 25 years without my mom, I'm still feeling sadness and loss. So, you know, I really believe grief is a part of life, and we just have to find ways to deal with it. So I hope that you will find your way to deal with grief, and that you have that support that you need in your community. Thank you. Aho mitaku ya yasen hohetutu.
All right, guys, welcome back. And this is the activity part of our training. For every training that we'll be doing in November, there's going to be one activity for the family to do together. Today we're going to be doing decoupage pumpkins, and this is a pumpkin pie pumpkin, and we're going to be doing decoupage with napkins and gluing it onto the pumpkin. And so every family is going to have a bag coming to them, and it's going to have a pumpkin for the family to do it together with, and then we're also going to do tissue paper flowers. Like for Day of the Dead, they do the Marigolds, and a lot of families do make a lot of those, and they put them out on the stones or on their altars, wherever they, you know, wherever, because everybody's different, so wherever they place them, they do a lot of tissue paper flowers. So let's get started. We're going to be doing the decoupage pumpkins. So we have these nice little cute pumpkins, and this is a fun time because this is when all the family gets together and you guys just have a lot of fun, and there's no rules to this. Got really fun pattern napkins here, a lot of fun. So got different ones, and I'll try to make sure everybody gets a mix of them in their little packets when they get them. Everybody should have some napkins in there. You have scissors at home, get those ready to go. I use a paper plate because the glue gets really sticky. And on that note, make sure you guys have some type of wipes at the table, because you don't want, your fingers are gonna get sticky, and you don't wanna tear the napkins when you're applying them onto the pumpkin.
So everybody's got a pumpkin, grab your napkins, whatever you want.
How many do we need, napkins?
Napkins?
Yeah.
I would say, now for this one, believe it or not, this one only used one napkin.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But this one's gonna be bigger, so I'll probably say you might need 2 to 3 napkins.
Okay.
But maybe more. And the fun, these are stuck on there. And everybody's gonna get a foam brush, so you can apply the the glue, decoupage, or whatever you're gonna call it.
Mod Podge.
Mod Podge, thank you. Mod Podge. And so you can pick your choice of napkins. You can do it, there's so many ways, there's no rule to this. What I did for this one is I cut this napkin in 4s. I cut them just all the squares out, just like that. You can do it that way, and then apply and start gluing. You can also cut out the skulls individually, and you can place them all over however you want. There's no rules to this. So what I'm gonna do is let me get started. I'm gonna cut this in a square. I'm gonna show you how to start with the glue. Because you're gonna apply a thin layer of glue onto the pumpkin where you're gonna stick the napkin onto. I don't know if I wanna do it in squares. And you can layer. Let me slow down though, so let's slow down. Let's get some, so we're gonna, I think this glue is, I think it's old.
Thick. Gotta be another one there. Try that.
How funny. Yours is, try to break yours through.
Yeah, mine looks,
Oh, yours is way better. Hey, the ones in the clear container I think are better than the ones in the black container. Isn't that funny?
so we start by putting it on the pumpkin.
Okay, so take 2.
Or the
Okay.
sun.
Yours is good.
Okay,
Mine is not. Those are old.
I'm going to give you some whites now.
Oh, the
Yeah.
ones in the black container, that's so funny. Steven, how's your glue? Do you need some?
I think,
Is it a
yeah, the
plot
clear looks like it's,
You're okay. Okay.
seems to be all right.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
if you get a little thing of water, it might be able to help you.
We're gonna, everybody, this glue is from last year.
Oh, no wonder.
That's in those containers. But the clear container that Kathy has, those are good. You guys have good ones.
Okay.
It's so funny, the one, the black one.
Yeah. Sat around too long.
So we're gonna be,
Maybe got a little bit of air in there,
yeah.
like the astronaut on the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Freaked me out when I was a kid.
So funny.
You're like, all right.
The only
Okay,
woman on
girl,
the
I don't know
trip.
Planet of the Apes came from. I don't
The
remember.
only, the only woman on the trip, and her capsule got air into it.
Oh,
So-
okay, okay.
She was like 1,000
Kind
years
of
old
lost
or
me for a
something, I
second, but I
forget.
got it.
You're like a random.
I know.
Okay.
Sometimes my jokes have to come with explanations. It's all right, I laugh at them.
So get some fresh cups out there, just in case. All right, let's start back.
Okay.
Let me wipe this off real quick. Let's start. Those are definitely not good. Okay. All right, let me start again here. Let's throw these out real quick. All right. Yes. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna grab our Mod Podge. You're gonna grab your foam brushes and make sure your napkins are ready to go. So cut out your napkins how you want them to be. You can cut out the skulls like I was saying. You can cut out the individual colors. Do whatever you want. So I'm just gonna do a square. I'm gonna start off with a square. And you can, and before you do this, you can also just like kind of just sit there, look at the pumpkin, look at your napkins, cut out all your symbols, and then kind of like just kind of gauge and picture what you think is gonna look really cool on your pumpkin. This is gonna make a great centerpiece. You can put it on the table.
You can put it, if you have an altar, put it on your altar. Or if you just like it and it's your personal one, you can put it in your bedroom and do whatever you want with it. Just have fun with it. I love this time of year when we have activities with the families, because it brings everybody together.
Yes, they're fun.
You know, it just makes you just like say, hey, okay, it's time to just stop,
Yeah.
put those phones down, turn off the TV, and just spend some time together.
Glue always brings people together.
Glue, literally glue always brings people together.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So you can just see, I'm just kind of like lightly applying the glue onto your pumpkin. I'm gonna do one space at a time. It's kind of like one little chunk at a time. And you can be pretty liberal with it. Just don't like, you know, don't get all gooky and big old clumps, but
Yeah.
just like smooth it on there. Make sure you got a good little coat. And then I have this little guy right here, and I'm just gonna, like that. And then just start off like that. And then keep on going.
Where'd you go? Oh,
And it's fun. You know, if you have young ones, of course, they're not gonna be doing the cutting, but they could be applying the glue if they wanna help. You know, just gauge, you know, the age with the, you know, like the scissors or the glue, the foam brush, or they can even just tell you, hey, let's stick this one here, and have the little ones can tell you where to put it, and then the big kids can help out with the other stuff. Just use your imagination, have fun with it. And then you'll start doing your thing. And this glue will dry clear. As you can see, you won't see any white or glue, it's all clear, and it's even glossy. With this one, it's really glossy, so it's pretty cool. And you just, once you get a little couple on there, you can just even go over it like this. Like I said, see, you're not gonna see it very well, but trust me, it dries clear. And another thing you can do, I know I've seen when you're doing decoupage with pumpkins that are orange, a lot of people will paint them white.
Yeah.
And it makes the other colors pop out too. And we did not get the white paint this time, but maybe next year. But either way, I think it comes out really cool, and it's fun. So I think I'm gonna try this square. I'm gonna put a whole square on. I wasn't planning this out very well, but that's okay. And don't rush this is fun. You can do this in parts, so chunk it up. You know, you can do a little bit now and then add to it, and then like keep on looking at it later, and then maybe say, oh, that would look really cool if you did this. You don't even have to do these napkins. If you like other like scary, there's cartoons out there like, what is that? The Christmas one. What's the Christmas one? The where it's like Christmas,
Yeah.
it's the
Oh,
dark
yeah,
Christmas.
Jack Skellington.
Jack
Yeah.
Skellington, your favorite characters, there's napkins out there for all kinds, like, you know, Jack
Yeah.
Skellington, like Stephen just said, and you can do Jack Skellington, you can do whatever you want, it doesn't even have to be scary. I've seen so many decoupage pumpkin thing. I went on YouTube and I was just watching this endless decoupage of pumpkins.
Yeah.
And there's like floral prints, pretty ones, you know, for fall, and you can have those in the centerpiece on your dinner table. It's endless.
So once we put the napkin on, we can start painting over it with the glue?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, right on, you did the whole square like that. Nice. And if it bends over a little bit, because you're gonna get it kind of bent over like that, you just go over it lightly with it,
Okay,
and just, you know, kind of just push it down with your brush.
Look,
okay.
see how I clipped it right where the.
Oh,
wrap
see,
were?
and then, that's a good idea. So Stephen,
That
see
way it
now,
wrapped.
Stephen, how he has his napkin, and it kind of overlapped, but if you can show him, see how he clipped it, he
Trimmed
cut
it
the
so
side, he
it's
trimmed,
trimmed.
so when he pushes that down, it won't bend over that, so
Yeah.
that's a good idea too, so there's many different ways to do it. I think the best thing is though to get everything in front of you,
Yeah.
cut things how you want them to be cut first, like I did not do right here, as you can tell, I'm doing it as I go,
Yeah.
but
There's no rule, like you said.
there's no rule. See, and then Stephen, he cut out just the skull, and he's gonna do that. Kathy just put a whole square on one, and then as you push it down, the glue will dry. That's a pretty one. I like the blue, you know, the blue with the skulls on top.
Yeah, I
Like
how
that.
they all go all different directions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have like crafts laying around the house, when you're done putting these on, like this, you know how they have like the flowers? You can get like dried flowers and you
Oh,
can
yeah.
glue it along the top
Hmm.
of the thing right here. You can do that. You can do, if you wanna make it a really fun, creepy Halloween-y one, you can do like spiders and you can glue on little spiders on the top. I mean, it's like you can just do anything. It doesn't have to be Day of the Dead. We just did Day of the Dead because it happens to be that time coming up, and we focused on the altar and ancestors and all that stuff like that. But I love these activities, because like I know I've said it already, but I love bringing the family together. I had a lot of family time when I was younger. The times were different then though, because on the weekends, we'd have our family days. We'd have our Sunday,
Yeah.
and we'd eat together, we'd play board games together. I mean, it was always one day a week where we always spent time together. I miss that so much, but times have changed, and it doesn't mean that we can't have it that way, just we have to just train our brain to kind of like, hey, you know, let's get back into that.
Exactly.
You know, if it doesn't have to be once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, just to kind of get that touching base, that personal time together. It's really important.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, a lot of people, like my family, I don't have an altar. I'm working on that still, because I would like to bring that into my life.
Yeah.
And some people have altars that are all year round. It doesn't have to be so lavish with the flowers and all that. It can just be pictures in the spot with some candles and some of their personal items, and that's just something that you can kind of look at every now and then and just kind of like, just, you know, just have that moment of that. And it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be like, everybody's different too. Cultures are different. But it's, I think it's very important to talk about our relatives and ancestors and share those memories and let the kids know who this was, and so they can keep that memory alive and keep it going. Storytelling, the best.
Yeah.
It's important.
I always ask my mom about her relatives and stuff, and she'll laugh and tell me stories. Tell me stories about my relatives that when she met my dad and such.
Yeah, I was just sharing with Julie about my cousin calling me and saying, I missed your mom's spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's
No
the
doubt.
best. Oh, man. Yeah, it takes, especially if it's not something that we normally do, it takes time and practice.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it 1 year, just don't let it, you know, you can do it the next. It's not like, you know, you have to do it at a certain time, because they're always with us every day. I think I'm gonna have to take some time to figure out what I'm gonna do with the rest of this one. I love pumpkins. I love decorating them. I love cutting them out. I love the pumpkin seeds. Oh, I love roasting them. And you can put all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
on them, whatever seasonings you like to them.
I like to throw them off the freeway overpass. It's really cool to watch. No, hey.
All right, kids, you didn't hear that?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Julie and I,
Just kidding.
Julie and I just had a class with the youth, and
Yeah.
we talked about seed saving. We opened up a pumpkin, we let them get their hands in there and get all messy, and they separated the seeds,
Yeah.
and they're going to save them and hopefully plant them next fall or next spring.
Yes.
And one of our students shared a really interesting recipe with us. He said that he takes the pumpkin seeds and he grinds them up and then puts them in hot chocolate.
Oh, wow.
So I really would like to try that. The only thing is, I don't know if he grounded them up in the shell or out of the shell. So
I didn't hear that.
I'm gonna have to research that and find out, but it sounds very nourishing as far as hot chocolate goes.
Makes it thicker probably.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we used to, whenever the pumpkins get old, put them in the compost. And you get these, what you call volunteer plants. You just watch them come up, and then all of a sudden you have pumpkin vines, and you can take them out of the compost and put them in the garden.
Oh, my gosh.
And I remember last year's, and I was like, oh, wow, we got pumpkin vines.
That's funny.
So once we put the napkin on, we put a coat of glue over
One
it.
coat of glue over it.
Okay.
Yep, and you let it dry.
Okay.
And then you can always go over it again. And if there's like certain spots you're not happy with, you can take another napkin, cut out some pieces and place it on in those places. So you can definitely layer.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay.
make sure you do good thin coats over, let it dry, and then you can go over it again if you want.
Okay.
It's like shellac. Shellac.
So we're gonna stop here for a second, and then I'm
Okay.
gonna bring out the other one while you guys keep on going.
Okay.
We'll just kind of get this last part over, then we're
It
good.
was fun, thanks.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think we have the best jobs.
Yeah, heck yeah, man,
Oh, wait, this is a job?
you're gonna pay me to do this, I'm happy. I'm not
You
arguing.
love what you're doing, you never work another day in your life.
Yeah.
All right, so we get 4
I
pieces.
really loved digging ditches when I was younger.
Finish my pumpkin later, I might have to redo mine. See if I can figure out how I want to do it. Okay. So here. Tissue paper flowers, woo woo woo.
You want us to do the tissue paper with you?
You don't have to, you can keep on going, if you want to, let me
Okay.
know, and we can.
Okay.
Do you wanna keep on going on your pumpkin, or do you wanna,
I'm deep in this, Kat,
That's
you go
okay.
make flowers.
did you wanna make a flower?
Sure.
Okay, I'll let you finish up that last coat.
Yeah.
And we'll get you some tissue paper. And we'll move on to that.
Stephen, do you think you can put a tissue on the bottom for me when you're done with that?
What do you mean?
See how there's a empty
Oh, yeah,
space?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, let that dry, yes.
Let it dry and then you
Yep.
hit it up,
Oh,
so.
look.
Yep.
I moved it and it kind of fell apart there.
Oh,
Should I just leave it?
leave it there and let it dry
okay.
for, yep,
Okay.
that's okay, that's all good. Once
Okay.
it dries, then you can fix it. Yep, we'll patch it up with another napkin.
Okay.
You can leave this here like that, it's all good. Just kind of put this right here, kind of hide it to the side.
Yeah, let me put it
It's all
behind
good.
it, I guess.
You're gonna see both of them anyway, so it's all good.
Okay.
All right, you got your scissors. Are your hands not sticky? Ready to get to the,
Yeah, I think
make sure
we're ready.
they're not? Okay, right on. You got scissors. Go ahead and pick out any 4 colors of tissue paper that you're gonna want.
Okay, so.
And then pick out
I
one
like
stem.
This one that you got.
Mhm.
So gold, black.
Oh, sorry.
All right. You tell me when you are ready. All right. Okay.
So I hope you're having fun with the pumpkin decoupage. I love decoupage because you could do so much with the glue and the napkins. You can do paper, you can do, it's endless. But we're gonna move on to the tissue paper flowers. So I have a few on the table right now, and these are what I did last year. And you can do any colors, different types of way of cutting the paper to have the leaves kind of fluffy at you. And you have this just like that. You've got this little one that I have on a little wire, and it's kind of like a little fun one. And you can use these to put on gifts. And then this one's a cool one. I like this because then you can use, marigolds are yellow and orange, but I'm gonna give you guys multiple colors. You're gonna get a lot of colors, but these are really cool because you can do them with the stems. We're gonna do them with a pipe cleaner as a stem. But you can do a bunch of these and then get thread and needle and go behind and out. And then you can just hang them, like,
that's
I don't know, what do you call the?
Garland.
Garland, thank you. Words
Judy.
sometimes don't come to me. But you can do garland, you can do them for your bedroom, all your favorite colors. I mean, it's really fun, it's fun. So everybody's gonna have, every flower, you can do 6 pieces, but we're gonna do these flowers are gonna have 4 sheets. And we mix and matched. So I picked out the yellow and oranges. And Kathy picked out purples and black, kind of like these right here, which is really pretty. So you're gonna stack them as best you can on top of each other, like that. You're gonna stack them up, ready to roll. And then we're going to fold them. Now you can fold them either way. We're gonna do a fold like a fan. So you can do them lengthwise if you think you want them that way, or you can go this way with it. Either or, it's gonna make it just a different type of a fatter flower or a smaller flower. So you're gonna go lengthwise. Okay, I'm gonna go this way, and
Okay.
I'm gonna do opposites and see how they come out. So you're gonna just take one, and you're gonna just fold it over on the flap, like that. And then you're gonna twist it, you're gonna flip it over, and then you're gonna go, and you're gonna continue to do that little organ. And then you're gonna flip it over again, until you get all the way to the end. Now, I've made big flowers where tissue paper was in bigger squares, and they came out really cool. Like the size of a paper plate.
Wow.
That's how big the flowers came out. It's really fun. And then that little bit might be just a little bit bigger than the other one, but it's okay, you're just gonna fold it. So you're gonna have it like this, and you're gonna see it like that. It's just gonna be like that. So you're gonna get the center, and you're gonna take your pipe cleaner, and so you can either, mine's a short one, but I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna hold it like that, and I'm gonna flip it over the thing, because you wanna make sure it's tight, but not too tight to where you're gonna tear the tissue paper, because it's very delicate. And just kind of just go over it, and then just kind of twist a little bit on the bottom. Just try to make that your center. Just do a little bit at a time. You're just gonna twist that little bottom and curly cue it around. So it's like that. So that's your start like this. And then you're gonna be very careful now. We're gonna separate the tissue paper by piece. So you're gonna kind of gently pull the top piece toward you. And like I say, just be kind of gentle with it, because tissue paper is very thin.
Yeah.
And if it tears, hey, you know what, it's okay. Just have fun with it. You can do this with paper too, believe it or not. I have never done it with paper. It's a little bit more, it's not as easily foldable as tissue paper, but you can do it. So just slowly, one by one, just do half the side at one time. So just one by one, bring the other the under piece up toward the top, little by little. And see how it's starting to form that little fluffy flower on top? And just piece by piece. We've been making these every year, so there's a bunch on that ultra, if you've noticed. In this taping, there's a ton of flowers over there made by past participants that we've had. Lots of good memories here at Scare with our participants. So then I'm gonna continue with the other side. It's coming along really good.
I accidentally rubbed my girl's jaw off while I was doing the other side, so I had to cut out a section and give her a new chin. Dr. Steve,
Hey, it's all good.
rhinoplasty, I gave her a chin
Decoupage,
job.
you know, just grab another piece of napkin and just go
Yeah.
right over the other piece.
Hey, I could be a doctor to the movie stars now. Here, I got some decoupage, let's fix that.
I remember my daughters for Mother's Day, they came home from school with tissue paper bouquets of flowers for
Ah.
Mother's Day, and I still have one at home.
Yeah.
Still, the paper's really brittle, but I'm gonna keep that forever.
I
Aw.
remember when I was younger and my mom and dad would go to Mexico and we would get those big paper flowers. They're so
Yes.
pretty.
They are pretty.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's nothing to this. It's very, very easy, very fun. You can get tissue paper at the dollar store. You pick your favorite colors.
How do you do it where it looks like a flower? Because mine looks like a bow tie. So how do you
Okay.
get it together?
Yeah, because you did yours lengthwise. So
Yeah.
see, that's. so
Oh,
let me see that for a
okay, so
second.
it just will look
So
like
see how that and this, but this is okay, because you can still, you can fluff it. You can fluff it
Curling in there.
just a little bit, but just lightly, kind of, you know, we'll fluff it. And fluff it. And then you can also cut in the strips to make it like this is too.
Mhm, that's really cool.
So it's really cool. And these are really cool because, I mean, you can add these onto a present, you know what I mean? Just to have that added extra little love that you do for them, you know what I mean? Oh, but yeah, I can see how yours, there we go.
Yeah, you do the same thing I did this way.
Yours turned out really nice.
Like that, and then, you know, maybe we can like just do a little simple bend. Let's do a little simple bend, just to kind of get it to like that. Maybe. A little simple bend. Hey, we learn as we go. I'm gonna kind of just do a little spin on your thing in the bottom to kind of, your stem. Kind of see if we can't kind of tighten up the bunch in the center. I think we can. But we really hope you all have fun with these activities. I hope we enjoyed the meditation. We enjoy spending time with you guys like this and the participants. We really do. And we hope your families are just enjoy family time with everybody, please.
Yeah, we miss you all and we hope that you are staying healthy and strong, and we look forward to the time then where we can actually have our classes in person again.
Definitely. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.